Detroit, a city you'd associate with building cars at a massive scale. In an engineering warehouse north of the city, we found a man who tears them apart, piece by piece. His latest project, Tesla's Model 3.
Monroe & Associates does quite a bit of engineering work, mostly in reverse engineering and benchmarking of vehicles.
The manufacturing guru and his engineers tore down two Model 3s and compared it to a BMW i3 and Chevy Bolt. Their conclusion, Tesla are ahead of the game in all areas but one. The car's body is too complex, expensive, heavy, and difficult to build.
This car has a lot of good features and a few bad ones, and I'm standing in front of the worst one right now. This is the reason that I feel Tesla has problems. The body in white and the closures that go along with it are not designed for manufacturability. They don't do a good job at part count. The weights are too high. The body is much too stiff. The wheel wells, for instance, have 9 parts to make up what would normally be 1 part in a conventional car. They use so many different fastening methods, it's incredible. I mean, it just goes on. And in many cases, the design is so poor that I'm surprised no one caught it long before it got into production.
The Model 3 they analysed had a sticker price of about $50,000 according to Monroe. He estimates the car would cost about $34,700 to build. That means a gross profit margin of about 30%, but there's a catch. Monroe believes it would cost that much to build if it was built at a conventional car factory. The Model 3 was built at Tesla's Fremont factory, where they employ 10,000 people and robotics. The cost of labor and automation is high.
35–40% of the people could probably disappear from that factory based on what I know about car plants, and that would have to happen after they strip out a lot of the robots. Had this product been built in a conventional Ford, Toyota, whoever kind of plant, this thing would have been a brilliant design. It would have entered the marketplace in unbelievable fashion. They could have clobbered everybody. No one would have been able to catch up.
Monroe & Associates are excited by the Model 3's battery, developed with Panasonic, which gives the car more range than anything else on the market.
What they put together for making this battery module is a brilliant piece of engineering, and I don't think there are many people that could help them make it better. Their battery management system is one of the best I've seen. This is probably going to be a very long-lasting battery pack.
All cars need a motor, and according to Monroe, the Model 3's electric motor is one of the best. And in the world of automotive, every dollar and every kilo counts. Monroe's analysis costs the Tesla motor out at $754 with a weight of 46 kilos. The BMW i3 has a more expensive motor at $841 and weighs slightly more. The Chevy Bolt motor is also more expensive at $836 and weighs the most at 51.9 kilos. Sandy says Tesla also outshines in performance.
This is wicked fast. This is a much more agile, more exciting motor to have than its Chevy Bolt or BMW i3 counterpart.
Monroe & Associates are still unsure what type of motor the Model 3 has, pending further analysis. But they've discovered a unique magnet design which they think gives the Model 3 its impressive performance.
These are neodymium magnets. They're actually 4 magnets, and they're literally glued together. This gives us something that's entirely different. It's called the Hellback effect. It gives you different performance characteristics. This is one of the things we think is what gives Tesla a little bit extra oomph.
Tesla declined to comment on Monroe's latest findings, but the models Monroe reviewed were built in 2017, and Musk has previously said in response to the firm's analysis that Tesla's processes have got more efficient since then. He's also acknowledged the body shop can still be more efficient. Monroe says Musk should go back and benchmark his car against well-established methods for designing and building cars. At stake, potentially faster production and higher margins, something investors are watching very closely. Ed Ludlow, Bloomberg News, Detroit.
Hey guys, it's Rich Rebuilds here, aka Uncle Rich, aka Where's the Free Food At? And I wanted to tell you about my first winter in the Model S. And I'm sure you've seen 100 videos of, hey, this is how my Tesla does in the winter, yay! Well, this is my first winter in my Model S, and I never watched any of those videos, nor do I have any prior knowledge to driving an EV in winter. So I'm gonna give you my experience. First of all, I treat this thing like a rented mule. I leave my charge cable wherever it lands after I throw it. And because I'm too cheap to install a 220 volt outlet, I charge at 110 volts and the charge rate is 3 miles an hour. So therefore, it would take me 3.5 days for a full charge. So what I try to do is I try to make sure that every night when I get home, the car's plugged in. Unfortunately, sometimes my wife forgets to plug it in. And instead of getting a whopping 36 miles back overnight, we get about 20, which is then quickly eaten up by simply driving a couple miles in the wintertime. So that forced me to go to the mall to charge the car, assuming there's an open spot in EV parking, because usually there's some guy in a Volt.
Hey, figures it's the Volt guy ruining everything. I can't use this adapter, so I'm gonna sit here like a dummy, I guess, until he gets back.
1 hour later.
Ooh, I had to wait him out. 15 miles, 16 miles an hour, baby. Ooh!
Well, it's literally always a Volt owner. I never see Leaf owners at public charging, probably because they don't have enough range to even make it to a mall. I also parked the car outside in freezing rain to test the strength of the door handles, to see what they can break through. Oh, that's not bad at all. It's kind of cool, actually. Now, the first portion of this video will be my complaints, realizing I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and the second half will be meeting up with a professional to talk through those concerns and eventually getting a resolution. So here is what an inexperienced EV owner has for issues. The first thing I noticed when driving my Tesla in the winter and freezing cold is that on really cold days, the tire pressure light comes on, which most cars do. Oh, no problem. Let me just find out which tire it is.
All right, some cold weather performance stuff with the Model S. I have my first error message, and it is tire pressure too low. Okay, check tire pressures. All right, let's see how easy this is in the Model S. That one looks fine. That one looks fine. Nothing obvious here. That looks fine. Nothing obvious. That looks fine, nothing obvious. Okay, what I don't understand is this. Let's get a good rant going here. I have to check the individual pressures in each individual wheel before I figure out which one it is. What year is this that I can't tell which one of my tires has low pressure?
The second thing I notice on really cold days also is the regenerative braking is limited. So the car no longer slows itself down when coming to a stop. You need to be careful. You also need to be careful if you do have regenerative braking and you let your foot off the accelerator and are driving over ice. I've done it a couple times, and needless to say, I've definitely puckered up.
Would you look at that? No regen. It's too damn cold outside. It's 21 degrees, and it's too cold for regen. And my tire pressure's low, and I can't check that because this model year Tesla doesn't tell you what tire it is.
Next thing I notice is the range loss. Let's just say it's below freezing out and you start off with 200 miles of range. If you drive 50 miles, you figure, okay, I have 150 miles left. Well, actually in the cold, that could amount to over 100 miles of range. Yes, I'm serious. Supposedly you get that range back when the car gets warmer, but sometimes you don't, depending on driving style. You have to factor in other losses as well, including incline, wind direction, cabin heat, and aerodynamics, like if you have snow on your car or something. Also cold tires as well. It's very hard to get the rated range in this car anyways, unless you drive like this person. You know what? I need some help. Let me talk to the pros to help me figure this out.
All right, so I'm here with my friend Chris, and Chris has a lot of experience with Teslas in general. I'm here to ask him a few questions as to how to survive the winter in the Tesla Model S. Chris, I've been having a lot of issues with my Tesla in the wintertime. One of the major things I've been having is that when I go out and I try to get in the car and I start it and then I go driving around, I'm getting into the thousands for watt hours per mile. So what can I do to get that down? What can I do to kind of make my winter driving experience a little bit better?
The most obvious thing first you want to do is make sure that the car is plugged into wall power. Preheat the cabin. You want to do that probably for about 15 to 20 minutes.
All right.
That way that gets electrons moving in the battery. It's a high voltage draw in the battery because the PTC heater pulls about 400 volts.
Okay.
Once that happens, that's going to warm the battery up, bring it up to operating temperature. It's just like a regular ice car when, you know, it's not happy when it's super cold either.
Right.
And you're going to use more gasoline in that instance. You're going to use more electrons to get the car up to temperature. So once you've preheated the car, the other thing you want to do is make sure you're using the seat heaters, because that's actually the most efficient way to heat your body.
Right.
Instead of trying to heat up the whole cabin to 70-something degrees, it's much easier to just heat your body up instead, and it uses significantly less power because it's only low voltage, not high voltage.
I see. So here's my problem, is that I'm a cheap bastard, and I am using 120 volt to plug this car in and to charge this car.
Right.
Now, can you survive the winter charging using 120 volts in one of these cars?
So the issue with that, the short answer is no, it's not a good way to do it. So basically the problem is there's an auxiliary battery heater that heats up the coolant.
Okay.
Similar to like a block heater on an ice car would be. And so if you're plugged into a 110 outlet, you're actually using more energy than is physically coming back into the car.
Okay.
So you're actually going to be having a net negative amount of charge as you're doing this.
So you're saying that if I charge my car, let's just say whatever, 200 miles of range, and I plug the 120 volt outlet in, I turn the heater on for, let's just say, 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour or so, I could come out to my car and I could have less than 200 miles of range.
Right. Yep. And even more importantly than that, if you were to say park it outside, or, you know, if your garage isn't very warm, and you've only got it plugged into 110 and say it's less than 30 degrees out, that's not an exact number, but roughly there, the battery coolant heater is going to be running that whole entire time, and it's going to be taking more than the roughly 4 miles an hour that you're going to be pulling in for electricity.
I see.
Even if you say went on vacation for 2 weeks and left your car outside plugged into a 110, battery will still be dead when you get back, because it's still trying to keep itself warm that entire time.
Okay.
And it's not getting enough electricity in to compensate for the fact that you're consuming energy. You're consuming energy when you're not going anywhere.
Gotcha.
So if you're gone for any period of time, a few days, you come back, you're going to notice that you have significantly less range than what you started with.
Okay.
So it's not a long-term solution. You're still going to have to use either public charging or a supercharger or something like that.